One Piece chapter 1078 is out this morning. The title is Escape Limits. I will be going over the chapter, giving some first impressions and reviewing it. So obviously spoilers ahead. All right, and I'll just jump right into the cover. We have the Germa 66's Cold-Blooded Voyage, Volume 33, titled And So Neomads Was Formed. The cover is showing us Vinsmoke Judge and Caesar holding hands, basically looking like they're cementing their partnership. Reiju and Ichiji do not look happy, either scoffing or sighing heavily as they're walking away while everyone else is partying. So it does look like they are uniting over their hatred of Vegapunk. All right, so we start the chapter in the lab interior of Egghead, the island of the future. We do see Stussy talking to Sentomaru, telling him that Kizaru is on the way and that the Navy is going to be going all out since Egghead does have some offense and defense capabilities that Oharu did not. So they are not going to be taking any chances of this information getting out. She does then reveal that the government knows that Vegapunk not only has the Ohara research, but he is advancing it. So things are about to go down. Hearing the news, Sentomaru tells all the workers to start evacuating to prepare the ships before the government is coming. We then move over to the third floor of Lab Building C, where we see Snake, Lilith, Usopp, and Franky going at it. Not so much anymore this chapter, since Lilith and Usopp are completely petrified and Franky is about 2/3 petrified. We then see Pythagoras walking up and confronting S-Snake about why she is doing what she is doing, and S-Snake just kind of looks at Pythagoras' little head and stomps him out, causing a gigantic explosion. Then it looks like she is either walking away from everybody or walking away from Pythagoras and towards Franky and everyone else. In the panel, it does look like Lilith's bubble gun is still functional. At least it doesn't look like it's turned to stone. And Franky does still have the use of one hand. So we might see him maybe try to use that or take advantage of that weapon. Putting it into himself somehow and integrating it. That would be really cool. All right, moving on, we are in Building A, second floor, where we find Nico Robin, Chopper, and Atlas on the move. They are realizing that the Seraphim are causing a lot of trouble, and Atlas then remembers that there is a place that could be holding the main body, which I'm assuming is that underground Devil Fruit research lab. All right, and then we quickly move over to Building A on the third floor, where we left off with Nami, Edison, Brook, Sanji versus S-Shark. Edison is out for the count from the last chapter. Does look like he is still alive, thankfully. Nami is tending to him, telling him to hold on. Brook, since Sanji has come to the rescue, says, well, maybe I'm going to go look for the main body, and turns into his ghost astral projection form, while Sanji takes a left to the face, not moving, and basically showing off his exoskeleton and saying that this is his undying power of love. All right, so as Sanji takes on S-Shark, we move to the fourth floor of Building A, where we have Luffy, Zoro, Kaku, and Lucci taking on the two Seraphim, S-Bear and S-Hawk, or so we thought. S-Hawk has disappeared right under their noses. Lucci, I'm pretty sure he's baiting the Straw Hats here. He says that S-Hawk is more likely than not going out to go thin the herd, taking on some of the weaker Straw Hats. Definitely works because Zoro immediately runs off after S-Hawk, and Luffy makes sure to tell Kaku, what are you doing? Go help him before he gets lost, Usopp. Which just brought so much joy to my heart. And then we see Kaku running off to Zoro, realizing that Luffy called him Usopp. Okay, as Luffy and Lucci battle on with S-Bear, we actually get a little bit of a treat. We get a little bit of a lore dump or flashback, I'm not sure what you want to call it. It's going to give us a little bit more context to what is happening. So the narrator comes in, which is always great, saying only one day remains before the infamous Egghead incidents. However, the wheels of this tale were set in motion 3 months ago. We then see Mary Joie. It says 3 months ago. We have a transmission coming in from Egghead to Mary Joie, telling them that Dr. Vegapunk is looking into the Void Sentry. CP5 agents are dispatched to investigate this claim, obviously. However, their investigation showed nothing, and they were departing. And before they could get back home, they mysteriously disappeared, as they do. CP7 and CP8 were both deployed to find CP5, shed a little bit more light onto it. However, they also vanished. Moving on, Mary Joie gets another transmission from Egghead, asking to talk to the top brass. So we then see the Gorosei huddled around at Den Mushi, basically having a conversation with whoever the traitor is, telling them the full extent of what Dr. Vegapunk is doing. So they send out CP0 to handle this. They basically come to the conclusion that Dr. Vegapunk has outlived his purpose, so it is time to assassinate him. The Gorosei are anticipating that Vegapunk would resist, so they do send one of the Gorosei, escorted by Kizaru, along with what I'm just going to assume that are rear or vice admirals, and their caution level was raised to total war imminent. We then cut to the arrival of the Straw Hats at Egghead, basically continuing this flashback. The government does know that this is happening. It shows Akainu basically seething that Straw Hat is there. We even see one of the Gorosei, the one with the big beard, saying, "Him again?" The narrator goes on to say, in any case, this chain of events is going to culminate tomorrow, and the outcome will shock the world. Alright, so after the little flashback, we then go back down to the abandoned Devil Fruit lab, where we last saw Shaka and Stella talking, and just as we left them, Shaka got plugged in the back of the head with a pistol. Stella is furious, is confused, asking, "Why are you doing this?" And then it is revealed, finally, that York was the traitor. Now, York, this is not what I had expected. I had my money on Lilith being the traitor, but it does make sense. It had to have been one of the satellite bodies, and basically goes through and says that she wants to be a celestial dragon. So the Stella is greatly confused, asking, "Why would you ever want to be a celestial dragon? Don't you remember what they were like when we were up there? They're terrible humans." And York says, "You sound just like Shaka," which leads me to believe that Shaka had some idea that this was going to happen, which makes sense because I believe it was Shaka who reached out to Dragon at the beginning of Egghead. So maybe he had some information that we don't have just yet, or this is the information that he had and he was planning ahead somehow with reaching out to Dragon. And then the last two panels, we have Dr. Vegapunk looking extremely scared for his life, rightfully so, after seeing Shaka getting plugged in the back of the head. And York basically says, the world really doesn't need any more than one Vegapunk, right? And thankfully, no break next week. All right, so great chapter. We got some lore, we got some comedy, we got some action. I can't wait to see where these battles are going to be going, if the Seraphim will be taken back into control, and what's going to be coming up next. So thank you so much.